Alrighty, y'all. In this video, I kind of want to talk Boston a little bit more, but I also want to talk about them, I think, in a little bit more positive light than a lot of my Boston videos have been this year. The honest truth about this team is, look, they're not quite as good as they were last year, and they're certainly more opposed than they were last year in terms of top tier teams, not just in the East, but in the league as a whole. Teams like the Cavs, the Thunder, the Lakers, the Nuggets, even some of the other pesky teams in the East, like the Knicks and maybe a healthy Bucks and squads like that. Like, it's not going to be an easy path to trying to repeat as champions. We already knew that was always going to be the case, but especially now, it just looks like it's going to be really tough to do. But this team has all the pieces to repeat as champion, 100%. The question is, can they put them together? Will the guys be healthy and available when they need to be? And can their stars be good enough on a consistent basis for them to win a title? The honest answer is, I don't know. If I was a betting man right now, I think I would say no. But I could certainly be wrong, and I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that it is entirely possible that this team still goes back to back and finds themselves entirely down the stretch of this season. I'm going to talk about why the next basically month and a half, the rest of the regular season, could be massive for this Boston Celtics team as well, because they have a massive opportunity in front of them with the way their schedule sets up for the rest of the season to go on a huge run and really build a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. So, impressive win today against the Nuggets. Jokic still has 20, 14, and 9. But honestly was pretty neutralized for the most part. They did a good job of making Russ beat them in a lot of ways, and I thought Russ was decent, but his lack of shooting ability did hurt them from the three-point line. They Jamal Murray, Christian Brown both had pretty good games, but Christian Brown was great outside of shooting the three ball. But at the end of the day, the Nuggets' lack of depth hurt them. No Aaron Gordon hurt in this game. No Peyton Watson obviously still is also out. That I think hurt this team. And the interesting thing about the Celtics is, despite them having their own perceived lack of depth in a lot of ways, no Kristaps in this game, no Drew Holiday in this game, they find a way to get the job done. They do it in a very versatile way as well. Only 110 points, really did not shoot the ball. I mean, they shot the ball pretty well as a whole, but Tatum did not. 4 of 15, 1 of 7 from 3. And I mean, from the bench, you basically got a decent contribution from Peyton Pritchard and then certain amount of contributions from Hauser and Queta, and that's about it from the bench. Torrey Craig was kind of just out there for a few minutes. And I mean, Derek White, 6 of 13, 5 of 11. Jaylen Brown, 6 of 15, 2 of 4, like 22 points, 17 points. Pretty solid performance from those guys, but Al Horford was really impressive and really big today, and he has just been a huge part in the success of the Celtics team over the past 2 years in general. I mean, deserves a ton of credit for the amount of versatility in his game at the age of 38. It is incredibly impressive how well he has managed to diversify his skill set throughout his career, and the way that he is just able to play whatever role the Celtics need him to play. He's still the guy who guards Giannis on that team. He's got high level defensive versatility. Even at this age, he can still stretch the floor and shoot. Defensively, he's got great anticipation. He made a couple of really nice defensive plays against Jokic, actually passing the ball for a couple of steals. So they had 3 steals in the game. Like, I just think he is a guy who's so underappreciated. When you have so many stars in Boston, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday, it's easy for a guy like Al Horford to kind of go under the radar. But the impressive thing about him is he has really managed to maintain a high level of versatility and play really late into his career. You just don't see very many guys at 38 years old still contributing at an extremely high level. And yeah, I know he made an all-star team, and I know he was a really good player at his peak, but for a player who was never a true superstar, you just don't expect to see them extend their careers for this long. And he has done an incredible job of that. So shout out to Al Horford, really still a high-level contributor and a guy who matters and will matter for their chances of repeating as champions. The honest truth is, Jason Tatum is one of the most interesting players in basketball to me this year as well. And I just real quickly want to talk about him for a couple minutes, because games like today are so common for him. 4 of 15, 1 of 7 from 3, 16 points, inefficient, not overall super high level play, at least offensively as a scorer. He had 6 turnovers as well. But what I love about Tatum is, number one, the playmaking has gotten better. No doubt about it. It's taken big strides this year as a playmaker. And in all honesty, I think he's impacting the game in more ways than he probably ever has, because he is, in a lot of ways, a de facto point forward for that team a lot of the time. His defense is still very, very high level. His efficiency around the rim has gotten really, really solid, and he gives you so much versatility. Better than a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Almost 9 rebounds a game. A guy who's playing big, playing physical, guarding a lot of power forwards, doing a lot of different things on the court at a high level. And while the efficiency still hasn't overall, especially from 3, taken a big jump, and it may never at this point, he is absolutely a top 5 player in the world, in my opinion. I think I'd probably have him 5th, and I think you could make an argument he's maybe like 6th or something, but the guy's great. I mean, he is. I think he's overhated, in all honesty. I'm not the biggest Tatum fan personally. I think he's overrated, by Celtics fans. But I think he's underrated by the rest of the league, in all honesty, fan base wise. I mean, he's having, I think, arguably his best season of his career in a lot of ways in terms of all the different things that he is doing to impact the game outside of just scoring and outside of just the efficiency. Really think he has improved his game as a whole. Now, I will say Jaylen Brown frustrates me. I don't think the decision making has been all that great this year. He's not been nearly as efficient, really, across the board. And defensively, he's absolutely still impactful, but there are a lot of people. I see people on Twitter saying Jason Tatum's not the #1 guy on the Celtics. You could make that argument at points last year. You cannot this year. Jaylen Brown has not been good enough to deserve that argument that he's been the best guy on the Celtics at any point this year. There's just no argument to be made. He's been playing better as of late, but they're going to need the Jaylen Brown of last year that won Finals MVP and was an incredibly impactful guy across the board, really all year and in the playoffs last year. They're going to need that guy in the playoffs to have a serious chance to contend. Now, Derek White, nearly 40% from 3, 9 attempts a game, one of the fastest jumpers in basketball, and he is a high-level defensive player and a very efficient, very good assist turnover type guy. Love him as a player. He's probably the 3rd best player on the team and on a night-to-night basis. He's been awesome. Drew Holiday concerns me because he's not shooting the ball quite as well this year. He's also just kind of starting to show some signs of age, dealing with some lingering injuries like the hand stuff that he's got going on right now. Still a high effort, high level defender, but definitely not quite this player he once was. Will be interesting to see if he can come back and be the player he was in the playoffs last year, again for them this year, because they're going to need him to be. Kristaps Porzingis, if he's on the court, is incredibly valuable. He's probably the 3rd best player when he's on the court. He's averaging 19 a game, shooting 40% from 3. Like, there's a lot to like, but is he going to be available? He's played 32 games this year. He's missed 25 or something like that. Like, that's a real question. And it's a very, very real question mark. Like, I would be seriously concerned about the availability of Kristaps Porzingis. Now, the jump of Peyton Pritchard to a 14-point per game, 6th man of the year type candidate has been really, really impressive. He's been awesome. He's 63, almost 64% from 3-point range is absurd. And he's over 41% from 3 too. He's been awesome. Sam Hauser, another high level shooter, 40% from 3. And then again, like I said, Horford, just kind of a do-it-all guy, only averaging 8 and 5.5, but he's just so versatile and so skilled and can still stretch the floor and still does so many smart things. And I mean, he'll give you games like today where he's what, 15 and 9, 16 and 9, something like that, at an efficient level. He'll give you that often. Like, it's really valuable to have guys like that on the team. But the most interesting thing for Boston is you look at the standings. Yeah, they're 7.5 games back of Cleveland. Realistically, they're not catching Cleveland at this point. But what they have the opportunity to do is build a ton of momentum down the stretch of the season, because they have the 2nd easiest remaining schedule in basketball. They only play 5 games against teams with winning records for the rest of the year. Look at this schedule. It's insane. LA next Saturday. That's 1. OKC the Wednesday after that. That's 2. Sacramento in a couple weeks on a Monday. That's 3. Memphis on the next week on a Monday. That's 4. And then New York a week later. That is 5. Out of their remaining 21 games or however many left they have, that is it. They have a huge opportunity to win 16, 17, 18 games out of their last 21, finish the season extremely strong, and go into the playoffs with a ton of momentum. And while I don't think they're catching the Cavs, I don't know if they need to. I think they could beat the Cavs on the road if they need to. Like, this team has the potential to win a title. No doubt in my mind. Not just the potential. They are absolutely right up there with the favorites right now. They're not my favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if they won the title. We'll see what happens. They're certainly worth watching, and I think as a whole, they're becoming a little bit underrated in overall NBA circles. So that's just my opinion. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.